Yeah. What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Thtman.x, and today we not react to a game. React to NFL players that can't accept they falling off. I clicked on this video and I seen Aaron, the Pittsburgh Steelers legend Rodgers. I don't know why you felt like you could put my QB on there, but he hasn't fallen off. If you ask me, he's still looking good, still looking great. He rushed for touchdowns and stuff like that. I can't name no other old QB that's doing that. He the oldest one in the league. And he is not washed. Don't disrespect my QB. But yeah, we finna see.
Right now across the NFL, players that accept that they can't fall off.
See, look what I mean. Look.
Right now across the NFL.
How you gonna have my guy? Look, hey, Russell Wilson, a terrorist for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Terrorist. But we finna get into it. I'm gonna shut up.
Some of the biggest names from the last decade are clinging to careers that have already left them behind.
I don't know what he's talking about.
These aren't just all washed players on terrible teams. These are Pro Bowlers, Super Bowl champions, guys who define their positions, and they can't let go. The stats tell part of the story, the eye test should complete it. However, some are still holding on to a time that no longer exists. Let's start with Russell Wilson, because his fall might be the steepest and quickest in modern NFL history.
Man.
From 2012 to 2021, Russell Wilson was a legitimate MVP candidate nearly every season. 10 straight seasons with a passer rating above 92, a bunch of playoff appearances.
Hold up.
Nearly every season. 10 straight seasons with a passer rating above 90.
Where was this when we needed it, huh? Where was this when we needed it, Aaron Rodgers? Huh? Where was it when we needed it, though, Aaron Rodgers? You came in looking good, man. You had us at an astounding 7-2 record, and then you decided to put a hijab on and bomb the whole team, huh? Bomb everything. You just bombed everything, huh?
A bunch of playoff appearances in those years, a Super Bowl ring, along with another appearance. He made magic happen when the play broke down, extending drives with his legs, hitting deep shots off platforms. Defenses feared him. The team would eventually build around him. He was a prototype for the modern dual-threat quarterback. Let Russ cook would become a staple phrase in NFL talks. Then something broke.
Russell Wilson
to the Denver Broncos in exchange.
I remember this. They was talking about that how the Broncos gonna go to the league. They thought he was gonna do what Bo Nick's doing.
NFL history.
Russell Wilson was traded to the Denver Broncos, and nothing was the same.
He said, Bronco Nation,
the 2022 Broncos season was a disaster. Wilson posted an 84.4 passer rating, his worst since his rookie year. Denver went 5-12. He threw 16 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. The deep ball accuracy disappeared. His completion percentage dipped to the lowest it had been in the past 4 seasons. The mobility vanished. He took 55 sacks in 15 games, constantly holding the ball too long.
No, this sound like him on Pittsburgh. Damn, look like sound like him on Pittsburgh.
Wilson looked slow processing reads. He bailed from certain pockets. The trademark scramble drills that used to create explosive plays now just killed drives. Teammates were openly frustrated. Now, his head coach wasn't competent, but still. Denver benched him late in the season, and the following year with Sean Payton was actually better numbers-wise, but the damage was already done, leading the Broncos to eat $85 million in dead cap to move on after just 2 years. So what did Wilson do? He signed with Pittsburgh in 2024. He started in 11 games, and the results were a mixed bag. A 95.6 passer rating, 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions.
You know, this is my first ever Steelers game I ever went to in my life. You know, this was the first ever Steelers game I went to in my life. Do you know this was the first ever Steelers game I went to in my life? And I watched this nigga throw a pick 6 to Marlon Humphrey?
On paper, but the film and eye test told a different story. Pittsburgh offense was ranked 16th in points and 23rd in total yards, with Wilson under center. The athleticism that made him special, the processing speed that covered for his height limitation had slowed. Defenses don't respect his mobility anymore, so they sat on his routes and dared him to beat him vertically, and he couldn't. And all of that would have been acceptable if he had retired, but he came back this season in 2025 to an even more embarrassing year. Signing with the Giants, he would be the starter. Then he got benched. Then he came back. And then he was benched again. Not even worth bringing up his stats, if I'm honest. The denial is the sad part. Wilson could transition into a veteran backup role, mentor a young QB, which is what we thought he might be doing with the Giants up until he started. Every incomplete pass, every sack, every 3 and out is a reminder that the elite version of Russell Wilson isn't coming back. And the same goes with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers might be the
Whoa. He might have been mid with the Jets, but he's doing decent with us. He's doing decent with us. He's doing decent with us.
Generation. 4 MVP awards, a Super Bowl ring, a 103.6 career passer rating, 4th all time. It was the highest for a very, very long time. For nearly a decade, he was untouchable. The arm talent was generational, throwing lasers into windows other QBs couldn't even see. The extension of plays and Hail Marys made him a legend.
Right.
Then he forced his way to New York. The 2023 Jets season lasted 4 snaps.
Yeah,
Rodgers tore his Achilles on the opening drive of Week 1.
Damn.
The injury ended his season before it even started. New York went 7-10 without him. The entire franchise had restructured around a 39-year-old QB, and he was gone immediately. But the real story wasn't the injury. It's what came after. Rodgers spent the entire 2023 season and then 2024 offseason talking about his comeback. Every interview focused on proving people wrong and showing that he can still play at an elite level. He returned for the 2024 season at 40 years old. The results were whatever. He posted an 88 passer rating. He threw 28 touchdowns against 11 interceptions. His completion percentage sat at 63%, his lowest since 2019. The Jets went 5-12 in his starts. More troubling than the numbers was the film. Rodgers looked immobile in the pocket. The Achilles injury robbed him of whatever lateral movement he had left. Defenders collapsed pockets knowing he couldn't slide or step up. He was sacked 40 times in that season, which was the most he had in 6 seasons. The consistency vanished. When he had time, he still looked above average. He wasn't extending plays anymore. He was just holding the ball, waiting for something that wasn't coming. New York's offense ranked 24th in points per game with Rodgers starting. The Jets fired their offensive coordinator midseason after firing their head coach earlier in the year.
I forgot about
Rodgers publicly criticized play calling, blamed receivers for running
that.
wrong routes, and pointed fingers everywhere except at himself. The reality was, he was 40 years old coming off a torn Achilles.
What that mean? Look what he doing with us. Broken wrist. His nose almost fell off. Mason Rudolph. He doing pretty decent. He beat the Ravens. That's all that matters. He beat the Ravens. He beat the damn Ravens. Go Steelers.
Which reactions that made him special didn't exist anymore. He was still one of the most talented throwers in football, and so the Pittsburgh Steelers were all in.
Yes, sir!
Signing Rodgers to a 1-year deal this offseason, and to be honest, everything at first looked great. Training for DK Metcalf and trading away George Pickens seemed to be the right decision.
Yeah, I don't know who the hell said that. I never even thought that, and I'm a fan. I never thought that. I would take GP every day of the week before I pick DK Metcalf. Shout out DK Metcalf. He helped us beat the Ravens. I love DK, though, but not more than George Pickens.
They started off 4-1, but then the wheels would completely fall off. The annual Mike Tomlin collapse came in full force, and now the Steelers are only 1 game ahead of the Ravens for the lead in the division, when they had a 4-game lead. Season isn't over, and he's thrown 19 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, but it's not looking great. Unfortunately, it seems as though it's over for him and probably for the Steelers. Someone it's definitely over for is Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins never had the talent of Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. He was always a tier below elite, a solid starter who could manage games, put up numbers in the right system, but never could carry a team. And for most of his career, that was fine. He made a fortune being good enough. From 2015... For most of his career, that was fine. He made a...
Are we looking at the same number? 321,692,254 $1 million.
Fortune being good enough. From 2015 to
what y'all do for that type of money?
Washington and Minnesota, Cousins was remarkably consistent. He threw for over 4,000 yards in 7 of those 8 seasons. His completion percentage hovered around 67%, and Minnesota paid him $84 million guaranteed in 2018, betting on his consistency. For a while, it worked. The Vikings made the playoffs 3 times with Cousins starting. He wasn't spectacular, but he was dependable. Then the Achilles tear happened in October 2023. Cousins was having a solid season before the injury. 2,331 yards, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions through 8 games. Then his Achilles snapped. Season over. Minnesota would eventually miss the playoffs. The entire franchise had been built around an older quarterback who had just snapped his Achilles. It was a contract year, and the Vikings made the bet to let him walk.
Then that nigga scammed the Falcons. Scammed their ass. So then they spend like like 100 on him.
Sam Darnold,
like 180 or something.
McCarthy. Atlanta didn't care. He had just come off that injury. They signed him to a 4-year, $180 million contract in March of 2024. $100 million were guaranteed. For a 36-year-old coming off a torn Achilles, the deal made headlines for all the wrong reasons. Nobody questioned Cousins' intelligence or work ethic. Everyone questioned whether his body could hold up. It was also weird because the Falcons would draft Michael Penix just 1 month later. But still, we wanted to see if Kirk was going to be able to live up to that contract. Through 14 games, Cousins posted an 88 passer rating. He threw 18 touchdowns against the league, leading 16 interceptions. The interceptions told the real story. Cousins threw picks on routine throws. His arm strength looked diminished. Balls that used to zip into windows now floated. Defenders had time to break on routes. Against the Chargers in Week 13, he threw 3 interceptions in the first half. Atlanta benched him in Week 16. They drafted Michael Penix in the first round and wanted to see what the kid could do. Cousins' $100 million guaranteed contract became the worst deal in football. The Falcons are paying a backup QB $25 million per year through 2027. He's back to playing this season because Michael Penix got hurt. Falcons are 1-1 in his starts, and he's only thrown 2 TDs and 1 interception.
It's not bad.
Cousins was always a system quarterback who needed time and protection. The Achilles injury took away what little mobility he had. Now he's a statue in the pocket with a declining arm. The good enough version of Kirk Cousins is no longer good enough. It's awful. And this next person specifically hurts my heart to talk about.
Man, why you gotta do Odell like that, Sean, with a big snot booger in his nose? Nah, Odell, bro. Odell, ever since he left the Jets, he's never been the same, bro. He never been the same since he left the Jets. He had an okay stint with the Browns. He had 1 good year with the Rams. I thought he was gonna win Super Bowl MVP. He got a ring at least, but after that though, he been falling off, gang.
Wide receivers age differently than quarterbacks. There's typically no gradual decline, no slow fade. One season they're elite, the next they're replacement level. The separation disappears. And that happened with one of my favorite wide receivers ever in Odell Beckham Jr. He used to be must-see TV.
If kids don't know how influential Odell was, bro, after his catch game 1, when we was playing throwback, bro, I don't even know if y'all know throwback, but backyard football, basically, I couldn't do it. I was not attempting no other catch outside the one-hand catch. Every dance move I hit, he hit. I was hitting the whip, the nay-nay. Nigga, I was doing everything Odell did, bro. Only thing I didn't do was get the mohawk and dye it. I didn't do that. But
from 2014
he was
to 2019
football.
with the Giants, he was one of the most explosive receivers in
From
football.
2015 to 2017,
over
bro, he was
1,300
football,
yards.
gang.
The one-handed catch against Dallas made him a superstar. Defenses game planned around him. Then his body broke down. The 2020 ACL tear with Cleveland changed everything. He came back in 2021, caught a touchdown pass in the Super Bowl with the Rams, looked like he might recapture something, and I believe he was on track to win Super Bowl MVP, but someone else who were getting too soon would receive it.
Yeah,
Odell Beckham would tear his ACL again in that Super Bowl, and that was essentially the final nail in the coffin. But don't you worry, if you're a wide receiver over the hill, the Ravens, the Titans, and the Raiders.
What I remember about Odell
this
fight
time,
with Josh
Odell
Norman,
happened to
though.
choose the Ravens. And in 2023, that exposed the truth. Beckham signed with Baltimore, played 14 games, caught 35 passes for 565 yards and just 3 TDs. The separation was gone. He ran a 4.43 40-yard dash coming out of LSU. Now you could see he wasn't getting opened even against zone.
You
in that 2023 season,
my
he wasn't
mind.
man coverage. He wasn't winning on contested catches, and the explosiveness that made him a special player was completely gone. Baltimore didn't re-sign him. He joined Miami for 2024 on a 1-year deal.
Did he even play?
Through those 10 games, he finished with 9 catches for 55 yards. Miami barely targeted him, and when they did, he couldn't separate. He would be suspended earlier this season for PEDs and was recently reinstated, but more than likely we've seen the last of OBJ.
Yeah, we definitely
Even
did.
though he claims to have spoken to Aaron Rodgers about...
No, we're not. Okay, no. We're not just about to start building a retirement home at the Pittsburgh Steelers game. This is not what the hell we're about. We're trying to win rings. We're not a retirement home, okay? We're not a retirement home. We started with Russell Wilson, then we got Aaron Rodgers, gang. Let's end it there, bro. We're not about to keep just signing it. Then we just got Adam Thielen. Are we a retirement home? We're not getting retired. No!
joining the Steelers for some reason. We mentioned him a bit earlier, but Cooper Kupp's decline has been pretty drastic.
No, I ain't gonna lie. After the Super Bowl, he fell off. Puka Nacua took him off the map.
He led the league with 145 catches, 1,947 yards, and 16 TDs. He won the Triple Crown, won Super Bowl MVP. The route running was elite. Sharp cuts, perfect timing with Matt Stafford, separation at every level. Defenses doubled him, and he still won. But then the injuries started piling up. Kupp only played in 9 games in 2022 with a high ankle sprain. The 2023 season showed more cracks. 59 catches for 737 yards in 12 games. Defenses stopped respecting his speed. They played off coverage and jumped routes. He came back for the playoffs, but wasn't the same. The 2024 season was his worst yet. In 12 games, Kupp had 67 catches for 710 yards and 6 TDs. His yards per reception was 7.1, the lowest of his career. Puka Nacua replaced him as a primary weapon and then signed with the Seahawks this offseason. Little did he know Jackson Smith and Jigba would turn into the modern-day Jerry Rice, and he's still wide receiver 2 on that team. When you watch him, you see that sudden burst just isn't there anymore. The injuries really took his explosiveness, and what's left is a possession receiver running on reputation. Some players don't fall off a cliff. They do slowly fade away, losing a step each season until nobody really notices that they're still playing. And that goes with Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks has played for 5 teams in 12 seasons. From 2014 to 2018, he was one of the most consistent deep threats in football. 4 straight seasons with over 1,000 yards. He averaged 15 yards per catch during that stretch.
I never thought Brandon Cooks was like overly OZ. Oh, he was pretty decent.
With over 1,000 yards. He averaged 15 yards per catch during that stretch. Defenses had to respect his speed vertically. Now he's a journeyman. The 2024 and 2025 seasons truly tell the story. In 10 games in 2014, Cooks caught 26 receptions for 259 yards and 3 TDs. His yards per reception dropped to 10, lowest of his career. The deep speed was gone.
Like, what do you expect?
Just 1 catch over 30 yards that season.
And then look at the team he's on.
When they did, it was
he playing with the GOAT George. Look at that's the GOAT George Pickens.
Underneath
that's
routes,
him though.
Not even vertical shots. He signed with New Orleans for 2025, returning to where it all started.
Damn.
Through those 10 games with the Saints, he had 19 catches for 165 yards.
Damn,
he was averaging 8.7 yards per reception. Somehow the Bills have seen the decline over the past few seasons and said they need to sign him immediately, scooping him up for some reason just a few days ago. He hasn't played yet, so we'll see how he does, but I'd imagine it's going to be more of the same. Deebo Samuel's decline happened much faster than anyone expected. In 2019 and 2022, he was one of the most versatile weapons in football. The 2021 season was his peak. 77 catches for over 1,405 yards
Deebo
and
fell
6
off,
receiving touchdowns.
but Deebo was never really that OC at receiver to me though. I always thought he was always like decent. He was just I'm about to say he could just do anything. He could be a running back, he could be a receiver. He was just very versatile, but like I never thought he was OC.
Plus 365 rushing yards and 8 rushing TDs.
I never really
San Francisco used
like
him everywhere, split out wide, in the slot, in the backfield. Defenses couldn't match up with him. Then his body started breaking down. Samuel missed games in 2022 with a hamstring injury. He came back, but wasn't the same explosive player. The 2023 season showed more cracks. 60 catches for 892 yards in 15 games. His yards per target dropped from 11.6 in 2021 to 10 in that season and has only gotten worse from there.
Damn.
The burst just wasn't the same anymore. He couldn't really
he
break arm tackles. The rush usage disappeared, just 37 carries all season compared to 59 in 2021. The 2024 season exposed it completely. Samuel caught 51 receptions for 670 yards and 3 TDs in 15 games. His yards per reception fell to 13.1. More concerning was the usage. San Francisco stopped designing plays around him. Damn. He ran just 42 times, averaging 3.2 yards per carry. The explosiveness that made him special was gone. He couldn't separate consistently. He wasn't breaking tackles after the catch. The 49ers traded him to Washington before the 2025 season. Through 10 games with the Commanders, he has 53 catches for 470 yards. He's averaging 8.9 yards per reception. Washington uses him as a possession receiver, not a game breaker. Samuel in the offseason was talking about getting back to form, getting back in shape, but the injuries took the burst. What's left is a solid-ish receiver who lost the versatility that made him elite. Teams still value him, but not as a centerpiece. And the same would go for some of these defensive players.
Hell nah, you better not put Von Miller. What? Bobby Wagner? Are you tweaking? Bobby Wagner's like that. What are we saying?
Defense ages differently than offense. There's no passer rating to track, no receiving yards to measure. The decline shows in missed tackles, slower pursuit angles, players that used to make plays but don't anymore. And for some of the greatest defensive players,
If you ever disrespect Cameron Hayward, bro, I will punch through this screen and grab you by your neck and tear it out like I'm a Mortal Kombat. You better never ever disrespect Cam Hayward. Not Cam. You not about to disrespect Cam in my face,
the
game.
last decade,
Hell
that
no.
is happening right now. Cam Hayward was a force of nature for over a decade in Pittsburgh. 7 Pro Bowls from 2017 to 2024. He dominated the line of scrimmage, collapsing pockets, eating double teams, making plays sideline to sideline. In that stretch, he averaged 8 sacks per season. He was the anchor of Pittsburgh's defense, the guy who made everyone around him better. Opposing offensive coordinators game planned around him. Then Father Time showed up. Now he's 36 years old, playing in 2025 with 1.5 sacks through 11 games. The Steelers are 6-5. Their defensive line isn't the strength it used to be. Hayward is still a leader, still commands respect in the locker room, but on the field, he's a replacement level starter playing on reputation. Every snap shows a player who lost his explosiveness over the offseason. It may be too soon to call time of death on his career, but given our next example, I think it might be right. Cam Jordan's story.
Yeah, jump to him, nigga.
Exactly. Jordan was a monster for New Orleans from 2013 to 2021. He had 8 Pro Bowls, averaged 11 sacks per season from 2013 to 2019. The combination of power and technique made him nearly unblockable. He could speed rush, bull rush, swim move, pass tackles like they weren't there. New Orleans built their defense around him. The decline started around 2022. Jordan posted 8.5 sacks in 16 games, but the pressure rate dropped significantly. He wasn't winning one-on-ones consistently anymore. The 2023 season was worse, just 2 sacks in 17 games. His tackle numbers stayed decent at 43 combined, but the impact disappeared. The 2024 season showed a player completely past his prime. Jordan recorded 4 sacks and 34 combined tackles in those 17 games. His snap count dropped from 70% in 2023 to 48% in 2024. New Orleans defense ranked 19th in points allowed and 30th in total yards. The Saints went 5-12, and it seemed like, hey, maybe now's the time to retire. But Jordan revised his contract to come back for the 2025 season.
Good.
Jordan is now 36 years old, playing in 2025 with 4.5 sacks through 11 games.
Solid.
New Orleans is 2-9, the defense is broken, and their former anchor can't fix it anymore. Both Hayward and Jordan keep showing up.
Don't bring up Cam Hayward. You talked about Cam Hayward 30 years ago, gang. Don't bring him back up.
And keep talking about leadership and setting examples. The film shows 2 legends who just don't have it anymore. Still playing because they just don't know how to stop. And the same would go for Von Miller and Bobby Wagner with the Commanders. Von Miller's peak was from 2012 to 2018, 106 sacks in that time, Super Bowl 50 MVP, unblockable edge rusher. He would then go on to have a few okay seasons before popping off with the Rams in 2021 during that Super Bowl run. He parlayed that playoff run into a massive contract with the Bills, and that's where everything went wrong. He tears ACL, missing the remaining part of that season and a decent amount of the following season. He would have 0 sacks in 2023 for the first time in his career. He'd then start to have legal troubles and suspensions over the next few seasons. In 2024, he did kind of bounce back with 6 sacks, but he can't win with speed anymore. He has 5 sacks this season with the Commanders, even though we all know it's over. Most of us didn't even know he was playing. And the same would kind of go with Bobby Wagner. His peak from 2012 to 2021 was absolutely insane. 8 Pro Bowls, a tackling machine, a defensive signal caller. Clearly a first ballot Hall of Famer. You could see the slight dip in speed in 2024 with the Commanders, but something over the offseason really caught up to him, and that was Father Time again. He's slower in coverage and can't pursue sideline to sideline. This season has been the worst for him. His numbers look okay through 11 games with 107 tackles and a few sacks, but you can just see he's not the same. And lastly, we have Taylor Swift's fiance in Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce defined the tight end position for a decade.
Ever since he got with her, he been falling off, but I guess that's the Swiftie power.
From 2015 to 2023, he wasn't just one of the best
Travis
tight ends in
Kelce like
football.
that to me, though.
He was one of the most dominant offensive weapons in league history. Travis Kelce defined the tight end position for a decade. From 2015 to 2023, he wasn't just one of the best tight ends in football. He was one of the most dominant offensive weapons in league history. 7 straight seasons with over 1,000 receiving yards, 8 Pro Bowls, 3 Super Bowl rings. He could line up in the slot and split out wide. Defenses couldn't match up with him. Too big for cornerbacks, too fast for linebackers, too smart for zone coverage. In that time, him and Mahomes would break countless records, and Travis would break the record for most receiving yards by a tight end in NFL history in 2020 with 1,416. The 2023 season showed the first cracks. Kelce caught 93 passes for 984 yards and 5 touchdowns in 15 games. Respectable numbers for most tight ends, but for Kelce, they were more concerning. His yards per reception dropped to 10.6, lowest since his rookie season. Defenses still respected him, but it looked like he was a step slower. The 2024 season exposed everything. In 16 games, Kelce had 97 catches for 823 yards and 3 touchdowns.
But like, you gotta think though, you having 800 yards as a tight end game, that's like damn near like, that's still Pro Bowl status for a tight end game. Like you gotta understand, he's going to, of course he's going to have a decline. He's old as hell. He's old, but he's still balling though. That's great, bro.
Had a career low 8.5 yards per reception. The burst after the catch was gone. He couldn't break tackles anymore. Defenders would wrap him up at the catch point and he'd go down immediately. Kelce used to separate at the top of routes with sudden cuts and acceleration. Against Buffalo in Week 11, Kelce caught 2 passes for just 8 yards. The Bills played single coverage and he just couldn't beat it. The Chiefs managed to make the Super Bowl, eventually getting blown out by the Eagles, and Kelce really didn't show up in that game either, having just 4 catches for 39 yards. Kelce turned 35 in October, the same age as Gronk. Every interview sounded confident. Still talks about competing for championships, but the film shows a tight end who had lost his separation ability just a few seasons ago. The football IQ was still elite, but the physical tools that made him unstoppable are gone. In 12 games so far, he has looked better than last year, to be fair, getting 719 yards with 5 TDs, but it's now more obvious he just can't dominate like he used to. The elite version left after 2022. What remains is a veteran role player on the best team in football over the past few seasons. The hardest truth in sports is that everyone declines. The body breaks down, the speed disappears, and the mind takes the longest to accept what the film already shows. These players gave everything to football. Now football is taking everything back. Thanks for watching, and subscribe if you're new.
It's okay. Shout out to all the old heads, bro. Y'all really paved the way. Y'all are like that, man. Hey, don't ever disrespect Cam Ward ever. That's still his legend right there. And don't disrespect A-Rod while he's on my team. That's one thing you can't do. He's just Pittsburgh Steeler. He's not declining. He might not be how he was when he won them MVPs, but he got a winning record. Better than dangerous the bomb thrower Russell Wilson. Don't forget about that though. Better than Russell Wilson. Shout out to Russell Wilson, yeah. Shout out to A-Rod. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Thank you for watching. We're gonna get into another reaction.